Let me start by saying that I was never someone who believed in the supernatural. I never gave it much thought until I experienced something firsthand. What I'm about to share is 100% true, and I'd swear on anything that every word is exactly how it happened. I grew up in an old house, at least by the standards of our area. It was built in 1929 by a well-known Spanish Revival architect, and back then, the entire neighborhood was nothing but farmland. The house was originally constructed for the family that owned the citrus orchards spanning a 10-block radius, because it was designed as an orchard home. It had some unique quirks: a built-in trash furnace chute, perfect for disposing of bad report cards, a full basement that was used for cold produce storage, and some of the best hiding spots you could imagine. My family moved in when I was 6 years old. To give some context for the story, let me describe the layout of where everything took place. The house had what some might call a grand entrance hall with a large staircase that wrapped around 3 walls. At the top, there was a square-shaped landing that connected all the rooms. Walking around the landing, you'd reach the hall that led to my room and my sister's room, along with our shared bathroom. At the far end of the hall was my parents' master suite. The only way to get to my parents' room was to walk past our hallway. Now, here's the important part. Our hallway had a door that could be closed off from the main stairway, and this door had a lock. If the lock wasn't engaged, the door would never fully shut, would always swing slightly ajar due to how old the house was. However, the lock was only accessible from inside the hallway, meaning no one outside could unlock it. Whenever I was home alone, I made sure to lock that door. Not because I was scared, but just for an extra sense of security. Fast forward to when I was about to graduate high school. My sister had already moved out for college, and my parents were away for the weekend on a short trip to the mountains, which were about an hour and a half away. It wasn't unusual for them to take these trips, since I was already 18 and responsible. I wasn't the type to drink excessively, try drugs, or throw crazy parties. At most, I'd have a few friends over to watch movies or swim in the pool, and my parents never minded as long as we cleaned up after ourselves. On this particular night, however, I was completely alone. I had a soccer tournament early the next morning, so I decided to stay in and get some rest. That night, while I was asleep, something strange happened. I usually wake up a few times during the night to adjust, but this time was different. As I rolled over in bed, still half asleep, my eyes landed on my bedroom doorway, and that's when I saw him. There was a man standing there. Even though I was drowsy, I could clearly make out the details. He was dressed in stained overalls, wearing a white shirt with rolled up sleeves. His dark, wavy hair hung round his face, slightly unkempt. But the strangest part, he was waving. Not a normal wave, but what I can only describe as a tinkle wave. The kind where each finger moves one after the other, creating a slow, eerie motion. Still groggy, I assumed I was dreaming. I blinked, closed my eyes for a second, then opened them again. He was gone. Oddly enough, I didn't feel scared. There was no sense of threat or fear, just calmness. I dismissed it as a weird dream, got ready for my game the next morning, unlocked the hallway door, and went about my day as usual. I never mentioned it to anyone. After all, who would care? It was just a strange, meaningless dream, right? 6 years later, my sister was getting married, and one of her bridesmaids, Ally, was flying in from out of state. Our family had known Ally for years, so instead of paying for a hotel, she stayed with us. Since my sister's old room was filled with wedding chaos, I cleaned up my old bedroom for Ally to sleep in. Meanwhile, I stayed in my sister's old room. The morning of the wedding, I was driving Ali and another bridesmaid, Sarah, to the venue, which was about an hour away. We were chatting about high school memories and life updates when Ali casually mentioned something that made my stomach drop. "I didn't sleep that great last night," she said. Trying to be a good host, I asked if something was wrong, if she needed an extra pillow or blanket. She shook her head. "No, it's fine. It's just that the guy in your room wouldn't go away." I nearly swerved the car off the road. "What guy?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Ali sighed. "I woke up around 3 a.m. because my phone went off. When I looked at the doorway, there was a man standing there. He just stared at me for a while, and then he started waving." She demonstrated the exact same tinkle wave I had seen 6 years earlier. I must have gone pale because both she and Sarah immediately noticed I was rattled. Then she described him: stained overalls, white shirt, rolled up sleeves, dark wavy hair. The only detail she added was that he had a bandana tucked into his pocket. I felt my whole body go cold. I had never told anyone about my experience, not a single person, and yet Ali had described him perfectly. She then mentioned that she had always been sensitive to spirits and had experienced many paranormal encounters. She reassured me that he wasn't a malevolent presence, just someone who wanted to be. Acknowledged that lined up with what I felt. He never scared me. He just wanted to be seen. After the wedding, I asked my mum if she had ever noticed anything strange in the house. She didn't even hesitate. She told me that on multiple occasions, always around 3 a.m., she had seen a shadowy figure moving between my sister's room and our hallway door. When I asked if it ever frightened her, she simply shrugged. "Not really. It never felt threatening." Since then, I've seen him twice more, both times in my sister's old bedroom, once at the foot of the bed, the other time standing beside it. He didn't wave those times, but when I checked my phone after each sighting, both happened between 3 o'clock and 4 a.m. Eventually, I named him Philippe. Whenever something unexplainable happened in the house, like my hat randomly falling from the top of my lamp, I would simply say, "Hey, Philippe," as a way of acknowledging him, hoping not to upset whatever presence lingered there. Then, just a few weeks ago, something else happened. My 6-year-old niece, Bailey, was staying over at my mum's house. She had left her favorite pink sparkle shoes there, so I took her back to pick them up. While I was doing some minor chores, she ran upstairs to play in my old bedroom. After a while, I called her down so we could leave. She didn't mention anything strange, but the next day, my sister called me with a disturbing question. "Who was in the house with you and Bailey?" I told her no one. Apparently, Bailey had told my sister that while she was upstairs, she saw a man in the hallway looking at pictures on the wall. She greeted him, but he didn't respond. When she later came out of my room, he was gone. There was no way she could have missed him if he had left. And if he had stayed upstairs, I would have seen him when I went up to clean. I don't know what my niece saw that day, but I do know that she saw something.